In the PyTest cookbook under Docker to go, we've got a Django SQLite Postgres configuration. Most of the apps, the Docker apps, are in here in this repo here. They're all linking the same. If we open that up, that'll go into the repo YT Docker to go, and it's this one here, Django SQLite Progress. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that repo. We have a README, and we're going to need to set up Postgres, and I'm linking to the other. And down here we have a Python Postgres-PgAdmin-Adminer. So you can basically, this is how we can set it up, but I'll just run through it here. So I'm going to open up a new window. So we've got two of these. Make sure you've got Docker running, Docker desktop, and I'm going to open the folder in desktop. I've got mine here, YT to go. That's Docker coming up. Let's just go into Python Postgres-PgAdminer. And if I open that up, I can close that down. We have some Python Postgres scripts, but you don't need to have a VNV folder. That's only if you're going to be running these scripts, and we are. So what I'm going to do is just activate my virtual environment. That's so I can simply run these scripts. If I'm just running the Docker Compose, I don't need that. So I'm going to run Docker Compose up. And if we look at our Docker images, containers, we can see we're getting our Python Postgres-PgAdminer. I've started all that up before. And the details are in there, but if we go to localhost 5050, take a little minute maybe to open up. So if you come here and it doesn't quite load, that's simply because Postgres is firing up, even though the Docker Compose up's been done. You can see it's taking its little time here. There we go. And I know from my login, from the details in the repo, the details are there. I can now quickly register my server, and I've made that easy. It's just Postgres and all these things. Postgres, 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 and we'll just call this Postgres. That can be called anything. But if we open that up, well, we've seen we've got two instances from before. I'm going to remove that server. So we've got the original one here, and it may have some tables in from before because we store the data between. You can see I've installed that from before. So what I'm going to do is go into my Docker desktop. I'm going to close down all of these containers. And we'll see in the volumes that there's a data for Postgres here. So you can see that how it retained all the data. So we've got that. Images, that's fine there. I'll remove that one. So if we come back again into Postgres and we'll do Docker Compose up. That may just take a little while. And while we're here, we have various scripts to create tables, insert data. One of the most important things to note is my connection here. The host has to be host.docker.internal for Python to connect. That's the connection string to the Docker instance, because that's the port on the host. 00 and 120 all locals won't work, I've found in my experience. So if we come back here now and let's close this down and let's go to another local host. Good, that's it. Coming up, use admin email and the password as per the instructions there. So register the server, connection. The PgAmdin has its own unique configuration. So if we go into Docker Compose, we can see for PgAmdin, it's admin@email.com and password is admin. So let's post that there. Cancel. Right, there are no tables in there. So what we can do is when we're in this one here, we can open it. If you can do -D for detach mode, but I'm going to go into the SQL folder. SQ tab gets me there. What have I done wrong here? CD, sorry. So first I'm going to go into my virtual environment because I'm going to be running some Python here, and that's because I've got this psycho-pg binary. So if I cd sq, that's going to go into that. And I know if I do Python 01 and press tab, that's going to set up the publisher table, for example, so I can check my connection from Python to there. You can see it's printing stuff out. I'm going to insert a lot of data, so I'm going to do Python 05 and press tab. There we can see it's later, and then I'm going to just pull it back. See the records, 06 tab. Now if we go into our PgAdmin and refresh, we see publisher. If we get all the data, so we have now PG, Postgres, and all our Python scripts running. So that's running in the background so that we know our Postgres is up. Now what we need to do is go into our Django. So what I'm going to do here is go into this Django one. So we have just a core app. And in the basic settings, I'm using SQLite. I have a Postgres version here. You could merge them together, but here you can see name, user, password. Here again, host, very important. We need to use this as our sort of DB URL because that's just been working. We've seen that. SQLite version. So before I bring this up, and I've also got the SQL progress in here as well, so you can check if your scripts are working. But if I come into, well, let's just first of all open up. Let's do Docker Compose up. And again, if we look at the Docker Compose, we've got a Django app, and it's going to copy all of these different things. The image name, I'm going to call this Django-app. It's going to make the migrations and run everything, and then it should be starting on not 0.0. You need to use localhost. So let's do Docker Compose up, and if you look at the README -build, the first time to build it, need this. And if we open up, there we see it, and in the default view, I've got the time. If we just have a quick look at the app, core, views, that's the root, and the URLs, that's the root. We've got a test and a blank root. So we can see I'm printing out the date time here, and we're also using a template here. So if I come back and do /test, there we see I've just loaded in an HTML file. So that's Django's up and running, and that's working fine. That's connected. We could also go into cd SQL, and we can now load in the employee table. So for example, Python 02 tab, connection is closed. Oh, enjoy player created successfully. Sorry about that. Got Python, and we've done insert many. Let's do 03, Python 03 tab, do that. Let's fetch employees, Python 07 tab. We can see it in there. And basically, if we come insert many into employee, random 04, let's do that one as well, Python 04. That sets up a lot more. That sets in a lot of data. So if we come back now into our PgAdmin, refresh our tables, there we see we've got the employee table, get all the data. So that's connected. But for Django, we're using the SQLite. So let's go back here and do cd ... and do docker compose down. And what I'm going to do is delete that old image as well. So we've got all the containers. I'm going to delete everything out, except I'm just going to delete that one. That's gone. The images, I'm going to delete the Django app because that'll be built on SQLite. That's fine there. Volumes, that's our Postgres data. So that's a named volume. So that's saved between compose up and compose down. So if I come back here now, and what I'm going to do is go here, do Control A, Control C, and I'm going to load it into our database down here. So our database is just this. You can see if you want, you can comment them in and out. So let's do docker compose up with build. Now if we come back to the Django, that's still up and running. So now that's all connected there. And we will see, in fact, it's from previously. If I come into my PgAdmin here, we will see, if we refresh tables, we will see now all the Django tables have been stored in here. So it's now connected to Django. If we look at scripts, view, edit, all rows. That's the user groups. We haven't added anyone sort of there. So that's that. If you wanted to go inside and look what's going on, is here. Using that command. There we're in there. And let's do an ls. So we can see we've got our manage.py. So let's just create maybe a super user, python manage.py create super user. So there it's got there. I'm going to call it admin. Leave blank address, password. It's going to call that password and it's going to. So now you can see we're running all our commands because we've gone into the shell using this. So if we come back to our Python and view edit data, there we go. That's the one we just added. We've just added admin in. So that's how you can actually work inside and run all your anything you might want to do in your migrations or make migrations with Django. And just to show you that it's hot reloading, if we come back to our views.py and let's just put in here output, and at the bottom here let's duplicate this down and say hot reloading or just reloading. B star font size equals 42. So if we come back in here and if we go to our localhost, there we go, reloads included. So with this setup, you can basically work away in your Django. You can execute commands by going into the shell, as we've seen here. Go in and run all your example things here. You can code away, add different stuff in here, and as we've just seen, it will color equals red. We do that and open up again. I've done something right here. There we go, red. So that's a working, and I tend to keep it. Also, if you have any problems with versioning in your Docker Compose, in this folder here, I've kind of frozen out as of 30th of June 2024 what we've actually used. And I'm finding 5 doesn't work for some reason with all these compose ups. So that's something I'll be sort of looking into, but we have a cyclone PG2 binary. That's at least your connection. And if you're doing dev work, you might just make your own Django app and connect it to the Postgres database. So to recap, we've got our Django core, which has hot reloading. We can use Postgres SQLite or Postgres or SQLite. And what I'm just going to do is merge that back in here. And so that's it. So hopefully you find that helpful.